Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Hey Bellingham podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Gillette, and along with Chung Vong, we're very excited today for our guests. They're from Communities in Schools. We have Melinda Herrera and Maddy Halverson with us. We're going to answer questions like what are integrated student supports and why do they matter? What needs do communities in schools have and support? And how can the community become involved in improving outcomes for K through 12 youth? So I'm excited to learn about all that. Let me introduce you to our guests. So Melinda Herrera serves as the Executive Director of Communities in Schools of Whatcom and Skagit. She's a proud native of Texas. Melinda began her journey with Communities in Schools as a site coordinator in Central Texas, where her passion for empowering students and fostering success first took root. After relocating to Whatcom County in 2008, she remained deeply committed to the organization, serving as a dedicated board member before stepping into her current leadership role as executive director. So we're excited to learn more about Melinda's story and about her experiences as an executive director. And we have another guest with us, Maddy Halverson, and she is the Director of Communications and Development for CISWS. She's born in Idaho and raised in Washington. Maddy relocated to Bellingham in 2019 to pursue a bachelor's degree in communications at Western Washington. And for nearly 2 years, she has been a vital part of the CISWS team. She's channeling her enthusiasm and expertise into strengthening connections and supporting the vibrant communities of Whatcom and Skagit counties. So today I'm excited to dive in with these two fantastic ladies and learn more about what they're doing for our community and in our schools. So please join me in welcoming Melinda and Maddy to today's episode. Well, welcome Melinda and Maddy. Thank you for being here. We're excited to have you on the Hey Bellingham podcast.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks, Kyle. We're excited to be here.
So before we hit record, what I was excited about is that you two rolled up and showed up, and your heads are like about level. Your lighting is good, your audio is good, and I don't always get that on podcasts. There's some finagling usually that happens. So really appreciate the extra effort. I mean, you guys even put some intentional effort into it. So I'm stoked. That says a lot about how you guys probably do your work at communities and schools. So uh, tell us a little bit about community and schools and specifically really the purpose behind it. What is the purpose behind it? And then we'll dive in from there.
Yeah. So Communities and Schools of Whatcom and Skagit County is part of a nationwide organization. So we have a national office that is out in Virginia, and Communities and Schools are in 28 states across the country. And what makes Communities and Schools really unique is that each affiliate, so Communities and Schools of Whatcom Skagit is one of 300 plus affiliates across the country. Um, we all have our own 501(c)(3), which means we operate independently. We're our own independent organization. We have our own board members. We do our own fundraising. There are things that keep us in line with Communities and Schools National, which is called our unique model. We all work this model that we'll talk about later. And Communities and Schools Whatcom Skagit, or CIS specifically, we are in 6 school districts in 2 counties, and we are around to help students stay in school and achieve in life. And so that's what we're trying to do on a regular basis, is help students, meet them where they're at. Um, yeah, help them with we call them the ABCs. It's attendance, behavior, coursework, and social emotional learning. Um, so yeah, that's a little bit about what we do. Maddy, you want to give us some more?
Yeah, I think that kind of summarizes it. You were a really big national organization, so it's hard to keep track. And I think one thing to note on what Melinda said is that each affiliate also is addressing a different population of students, and different state regulations, different state education systems. So we're pretty fortunate to be here in Washington because Washington has pretty good education system. But yeah, we are placed, we work with schools to be in schools to specifically focus on supporting students, which is a really unique nonprofit model and model in general to have.
So how would you say things have changed in the last couple years in terms of what students need and support? My kids are in school, they're ages 8 to 13. And
Mhm.
so the needs of 8 to 13-year-olds have definitely adjusted, especially since COVID happened. And obviously once you get older, needs are different too. So what have you found? Possibly let's just start with that elementary school range of the needs that they have and then kind of work our way through the groups there.
Yeah, I can actually start on this. So COVID is the main thing that we've been kind of trying to come back from since it happened. For students, it was super impactful. Not being able to connect with other peers and learn at the rate that you would if you were connecting with other students. So that's something that we've been addressing and a big change that has happened over the past couple of years because students are a little bit more disconnected now than they were before COVID. So that's just one thing that we've been trying to address.
So
Mhm.
in terms of disconnection, what can you describe a little bit of what that means? And I mean, I think I know what it means, but I'm not positive. So if you could describe that a little bit more, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah. For us, what we notice as being disconnected is being connected from social interaction in person, right? So the skills you gain from being in an elementary room classroom and learning the same things as other students and talking about those things that you're learning, practicing those things that you're learning, like kindness, empathy, um, just the basic human social skills, right? That's where we see a disconnection, and feeling disconnected also leads to students having increased anxiety, depression, feeling a sense of like isolation, which we definitely felt during COVID. That's something that we're trying to understand how to fix with students or how to support them because we know how impactful that's been.
Wow. So, man, that's hard because it's paying forward in a negative way. It's
Right.
moving forward in a negative way, and there is no quick solution to it. There is no one size fits all type solution here. So that's extremely important work because if that formation of social skills doesn't happen at that age, then the impact that's going to have when they're in middle school and high school and beyond is really severe because I'm guessing it only expands. It's not like it stays in one place of disconnection. It only gets bigger as they age.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's like exactly the things that you guys are talking about. That's what we're seeing in elementary school. So when we came back from COVID, third graders left at first grade. So they missed a lot of those really formative developmental years. And so we have seen that they are behind in all of their, reading, science, English and language arts. And then I think that has trickled throughout the rest of the education system, because we see students that are more and more behind. Um, and it's great to have a CISI coordinator because we can also help with academics, right? That's a big component of what we're doing. One of the big things that we've seen, and it's are affected nationwide, is that during COVID, there was an influx of money. And so, because everything was remote, there needed to be more systems in place. And so, the systems were put into place when we came back from COVID for a couple years. Those systems continued to be in place to support that learning loss that students experienced over the couple of years. And now all of that money is gone.
Mm.
And so schools are having to have budget cuts. And so they're losing their parent educators. And so that directly impacts our students because they're missing out on some of those extra attentions that they need from what they've lost throughout COVID. And then add on top the things that our students are dealing with on a regular basis, right? Especially our low income families. There's food scarcity, there's homelessness, trauma across all of students of all ages, right? So it gets to be more and more challenging.
Yeah, and so how does this approach it to bring some solutions to these challenges? Because
Mhm.
what I love about the name is communities in schools. It's
Mhm.
it's not you two in schools.
Right.
It's communities in schools. So can you share a little bit about how some of these challenges are addressed? And obviously community members can be involved to help.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, communities and schools, throughout the last 50 years that communities and schools has been in existence, we developed what we call our unique model, and it is our approach to integrated student supports, or ISS. And so, whenever we come into a school every year, even if we've been in this school year after year after year, we do a complete new needs assessment to see what the school's needs are, and then we create a plan. And then how we implement that plan is our ISS model. We have 3 tiers of service. And so not only are we working with a really specific group of students, because our site coordinators or student support specialists, they have a caseload of between 35 and 45 students. And when you're at a high school with 1,600 students, that's a very small percentage of students. Um, so we also do whole school supports. We find ways to increase morale and help with climate change, like the climate of the school and sense of belonging. Then we do like smaller groups, again for belonging, and then our one-to-one services, where we are setting goals and working with students on an individual basis to get them to succeed, whether in its academics or attendance behavior. And the community has also a huge part to do with it. Even though our site coordinators are paid employees through communities and schools, they're in the schools 40 hours a week. But community involvement is also extremely important. And I think Maddy can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. As the communications and development director, I work really hard to connect the community to the work that we're doing, which is more difficult than you would think because
Mm,
schools are very private, right?
mm.
Except for the families and the students who are involved with the school. So, one of the ways we connect community to the school is by having site coordinators go out there and share bits and pieces of the work that they're doing, whether it's joining a coalition, or joining a chamber, basically just interacting with other local businesses, sharing about the work they do, and finding ways to connect the resources that the community has to offer to the students that they're working with. So, while we are carrying out this model of integrated student supports, we're also bringing in supports and resources that are free to us and free to the students so that we can save our dollars that we're given, and also really support students with wraparound community support.
One of the things that you guys mentioned was culture change, and I didn't ever think about how you guys could come in there and actually make a huge change, not just to the individuals, but you could shift a culture of a school. And it didn't really dawn on me that that's a way to go about it. And that's really brilliant because there definitely is a culture to a school, regardless of where elementary, middle, or high school. There's definitely a culture. I know that my college had a culture. The
Mhm.
college I went to was learn by doing. And so that was really the mentality and the attitude of the college. And it trickled down to everything that happened at the school pretty much. It was their motto, but it also was how the school operated. Can you guys share a story or two about how either culture changes have happened in schools or individual changes for particular students? And obviously, you can't say names or anything like that, but if you wouldn't mind sharing some stories about that, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, can I share a story about a school culture change? Okay. Um, excuse me. So we are in 15 different schools, right? And each school is completely different. Each principal is completely different. And one school that we were in was a relatively new school to the district. And their first year that they opened their doors was COVID year. And so they were in school for a little while and then we were shut down, right? Gone, everything, right? And so when communities and schools was able to come in, um, it was a hard road. It was hard to get parents to be involved. It was hard to get the students to buy in, teachers, admin, everything. And so our site coordinator came in with just the most amazing energy and said, okay, I'm going to do something to welcome kids to school every day. And we're
Mm,
like, okay, what are you going to do? And so she literally blows bubbles in the morning as students are getting to school. and she wears fairy wings. And so we say, bring the bubbles, right? So kids are now excited to walk into that school building. Our site
She
coordinator,
she
along
clearly
with
loves her
other,
job. Like I just
she
sorry
loves
to
her
interrupt,
job.
but she clearly loves it. You don't show up in fairy wings and blowing bubbles and not love your job. Like
Right.
continue, but that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, it's been a slow road. And our site coordinator, along with other school staff, have just really started to buy into this. And so they host regular movie nights, and the gymnasium is packed. There are families and students who are coming on Friday evenings to watch movies. She recently hosted a student art auction because they're raising money so that the school can have a letterboard out front. And it's just the most magical thing to see this
Mm.
transformation. To see like admin are happy with what's happening, students are engaged in school, teachers are coming around. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So
And
cool.
it's also on the same note, that same school, uh, like Melinda was saying, since it was formed during COVID, there was no parent engagement within the school. Like
Mhm.
parents had not stepped foot inside that school since it opened. And one of the first things she did, the first event she ever hosted for this elementary school, is a family glow dance night. So they had like glow sticks. They resourced a DJ who did it for free just because he was so excited that they were hosting this. And it was a hit. Like it was a serious hit. The parents were just happy that they could go to their kids' school and hang out with them and really engage with other parents. Like that's something that most people don't think about being super important, but it ends up making a huge difference having that parent engagement factor.
Yeah.
That is really cool. At our kids' school, they require us to volunteer for a certain number of hours for the year. And at first, when I saw, it, I was like, that's kind of lame. And then I realized that I already do some volunteer stuff, but my wife does a lot more. And 10 hours comes quick over the course of a year.
Oh, yeah.
But more importantly, who cares about the number of hours? The engagement with the teachers and the faculty and the other students at the school is so good for the community as a whole, for families to be cross mingling, students to be mingling, and it just kind of, I think sometimes school isn't humanized as much as
Right.
it could be because you just see the student and the teacher and that's about it. But when you bring up the parents in and they're interacting together and there's dynamics here that are really neat and they cross over in powerful
Yeah.
ways. So
Yeah.
I love that.
And a lot of people, just in the education system in general, are not having conversations or meaningful, impactful conversations with principals or assistant principals, right? Lots of times they're dealing with the discipline, and to be able to be at this fun event where it's very humanizing. This school principal, even as a fundraiser at the art auction, got pied in the face, right? And
That's awesome.
it was so amazing. And just to hear like the kids were so happy. And I think they're now really proud of going to the school that they go to.
My father-in-law used to be an admin locally at a school, and he did this. They did a fundraiser thing, and they said, or he said, if you guys raise X dollars, I don't remember what it was, but it was a pretty lofty, like really lofty goal. He'll shave his beard, and he does not look great without a beard. Well, just I'll be nice to him, but and he admits it, and so does his wife, so does my wife, and etc. And so they killed it. They killed the goal, and so he sat in the middle of their what do you call it? The not the kitchen, but the cafeteria, in the middle of the cafeteria, and a ton of students lined up to like cut his hair off and do some beard shaving, and by the time he was done, he was no hair and no beard, and there's a bunch of pictures. It was great, right? So that engagement is awesome for the whole community. And speaking of that, so this is super intriguing, and I know that there's folks that are listening going, "Well, that sounds cool. I want to be a part of that." And even if they're not a parent at a school, they may be a grandparent or they may be a younger person that's interested in this kind of thing. How can the community get engaged into CIS?
Yeah. There's a lot of ways. For one, and the one thing we will always say is that being a trusted adult to students, being place for them to tell you how they feel without repercussions for telling you how they
Mm.
feel. And being a vulnerable adult for these kids is so crucial. That's the core of the work that we do is being a trusted adult for students and meeting them exactly where they're at. Um, and then the fun stuff comes later. But Melinda might have something else to add to that.
Yeah. So historically, we it's been a long time since CIS has had a volunteer program, and it's something that we're looking at starting up again. So once it's up and running, it'll be on our website. But other opportunities to help the organization, besides the fiscal, right? Everybody can always make a donation, and that's helpful. Um, if you're interested in doing the work, maybe sitting, we have a board of directors that guides the work that we do. So if somebody's really passionate about wanting to make a difference, yeah, they're welcome to, get in touch with me. They can sit on our board and really help make a difference. And the board that we currently have is small but mighty, and it is growing. And they really do. They kind of lead the work in making sure that we are sticking to the fidelity of the model. So yeah, we've got different ways to be involved. We have community events. Maddie puts on a pint night every year. So attending something like that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And it's Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader trivia is our pint night. So it's
I am
real
not.
fun. Yeah, I highly suggest coming out. It'll be sometime again this summer. And yeah, along what Melinda was saying, also just being a business or resource for the work that we do. Um, we can always involve people in supporting students if they're willing to support students. So reach out to me, I guess.
Yeah. So is there an opportunity for people to connect with students in a one-to-one type context or a one-to-many type context where they support them in the way you were referring to before with giving them that they're a safe adult, a trusted adult that can then be a a mentor to a student? Is that part of your guys' framework as well?
I will
So
Yeah.
yeah.
On just to note this quickly, when you said being a one-to-one person for a student, I thought of another nonprofit, which, I'm gonna shamelessly plug this nonprofit. There is a program called Be the One Mentor in Ferndale, where you can work with students directly. But yeah, Linda, go ahead.
Yeah, I've heard
Yeah.
great things about Be the One.
Yeah, Be the One is great. And if somebody is looking for a one-to-one mentorship program, that's definitely the route to go right now. Years ago, we had a model very similar to that. And as our organization has evolved, we've kind of done away with that and are interested in getting back there. So that's once we do get our volunteer program up and running, that'll be a lot of the work where they will be able to either participate in a small group or meet on campus with a student and do some one-to-one work.
Awesome. So if I'm a business owner and I want to connect with you guys because I have resources or finances that I want to donate, is that just straight up go to the website and connect with you in that way?
Yeah, all of our contact information's on the website. So if you're trying to get in touch with Melinda or myself, we're on there. I'm always looking forward to meeting with, local community members, no matter what it is you're offering. I love this job and I love talking about the work, so I'm free anytime.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So if you guys were to share one more thing about this to the community, what would you like to share about it that would potentially be inspiring or encouraging or a story to share as we wrap up here?
I could share a story. I have tons of stories about the work that we do because I get to write them. So I get to hear a lot of the work that our site coordinators are doing directly. One of my favorite stories recently is actually in Whatcom County. We had a site coordinator who noticed some students who um, just didn't show up to school at all, mostly because they just wanted to ride bikes. That was the one thing they wanted to do. It's not like they were getting up to any serious trouble, but they just wanted to ride bikes all day. And the beauty of our program, where a teacher can't necessarily do anything about that, a school principal can't necessarily do anything about that other than reporting them absent and calling parents, is our site coordinator was like, okay, well, even if they don't come, like, even if they come to school and don't go to class, I don't care. I'm going to get them to school somehow. Like, we're going to get them here. So she's been in the process of building a bike shop inside of the school that she works in just to get these kids to come in and work on other students' bikes, including their own, just so that they can embrace a personal hobby, even if it's not the education route, right? So I guess the moral of the story is that when we say we're meeting students where they're at, we're literally meeting students where they're at, no matter what the situation is. Our goal is to get them to school and to hopefully encourage them and motivate them to be resilient and go on to high school and graduate, you know? So I think that just really summarizes how impactful our program can be.
Well, and what's
Yeah.
beautiful about that too is clearly you guys think outside the box. You're not like, okay, everything has to happen on campus. This is the way things are, and there's rules and all this stuff. And I'm sure there are some rules and whatnot, but the the variety of solutions, the variety of outside of the box is just wonderful and really needed because I think for a lot of students, it's our education system in general doesn't fit a lot of students. It just the way it happens doesn't fit. And so if you're opening a shop for bikes, they're going to learn a ton about that. Plus, they're going to
Mhm.
get to socialize with other students. They're going to get to lead in whatever degree. I mean, that's just wonderful. And then who doesn't want bubbles as they walk into an education opportunity? And as far as I know it, when you're having fun, you learn better. And
Right.
so you put all these things together and it's such a beautiful approach to education and that is such an asset to the community.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that I would say is that we kind of have a little joke that we say CIS is the best kept secret.
Yeah.
That's one of our goals is we no longer want to be the best kept secret. The work that we're doing is amazing. It is like none other that's out there. I said we're in 15 schools. In the next 5 years, we want to be in 30 schools,
Mm.
right? We want to be able to help more students. We want to be able to support more educators. And so, yeah, we want to be everywhere. We want people to be like, hey, what's that really great nonprofit that does really great work at school? Oh, right, it's Communities in Schools.
Awesome.
We want to be a household name.
I love it. Well, I appreciate you guys being here, and I just want to, if I can ask one of you to please share the best way to reach you so people can reach out and connect, and then I'll have that in the show notes for sure.
Yeah. Go to our website. It's siswa.whatcomskagit.org. And then once you're to our website, there will be a tab on the upper right with the contact information, and you can just email me, Maddy at ciswhatcom-skagit.org, and Melinda at ciswhatcom-skagit.org.
And listeners, I'll have it in the show notes for sure. And Maddie will just have to shake her head and be like, "Gosh darn it!" But we're human. We're human,
We are human. Words are hard sometimes.
right? Well, Maddie and Melinda, thank you so much for being here on today's episode of the Hey Bellingham podcast. We're excited, and I think the community is going to be excited about this, especially because you're not going to be a best kept secret anymore. We're going to get the word out for you. So thank you again, and we look forward to learning more about what you guys are doing and all the results that you're getting from it.
Thank you so much, Kyle. Thank you for the opportunity. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle.
Sharing the secrets